Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Monica. She and her are my pronouns. If you visited us or tuned in virtually before, welcome back. And for those that are joining us for the first time, I'd love to take a moment to introduce you to DreamBank. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. It's why we created DreamBank. This is an inspirational community, destination, and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to our immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Everything that we do is designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. As part of that work, we partnered with the American Family Insurance Dreams Foundation and their community partner, Nashville Launch Pad. As Davidson County's only emergency housing solution for 18 to 24-year-olds in the LGBTQ plus community, Nashville Launch Pad offers guests apartment-style housing, emergency shelter, and outreach services. Their goal is to affirm the rights and dignity of their guests while helping to launch them back to stability as quickly as possible. Leading this conversation today with HG and Micah is Andreall Moore. Andreall is a brand specialist with the General, and the General is an AmFam Group operating company. We are so grateful to have you all with us today. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello.
Right, I will let you all take it from here.
Well, we are so excited to have you all here with us today. Again, I'm Andreall Moore, and I am so excited to be engaging with Launchpad, one of the General Insurance's wonderful community partners. There are many factors that contribute to engaging in this space, and we are really excited. HG, can you see and hear me properly?
Sure can, you're perfect.
All right. Excuse me, everyone. I'm just having a little bit of technical issues, but that's on me. I wanted to start this conversation off. So let's go to the beginning. Can you share Launchpad's origin story and how did this safe space get its start in Davidson County?
Oh, Andrea, I love talking about this. So in 2014, Launchpad started as a temporary response when the only other LGBT-affirming shelter in the city of Nashville lost its funding and closed its doors. And so what I say is a ragtag group of misfits came together and they dedicated themselves to offering just one night a week of safe, loving, individualized, affirming shelter for young adults, actually on the campus of Vanderbilt University, where if you're familiar with Nashville at all, the Reverend Becca Stevens, the founder of Thistle Farms, opened up the doors of her student center for us to provide this shelter. And what we believe is there was probably pizza every night of that first season while we were getting it all together. But by 2019, we had grown to offering 7 nights a week of winter shelter from November through April, and even piloted a summer response one year to see what the response would be for folks who could come and get a hot shower and a warm meal and cool off, as it were, in the Nashville heat. And then we had to pivot, like all the rest of you, when you became familiar with this thing called Zoom. In March of 2020, we said, we have to keep our young people safe. And I was a board member at the time. And what we said was, we're going to keep these young people in hotels until we are out of money and we will have done our job and we will be at peace. And luckily, the federal government stepped in with some grants and we were able to keep them housed later into the summer while we waited for more knowledge on what COVID meant. And we continue to iterate, which is a thing that I'm sure each of you do in your roles, is learn, grow, and do it again.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Now, what a lot of people may not know about Middle Tennessee is it's made up of about 41 counties, and it's in the middle of the state. And so Nashville is kind of placed among the 10 fastest growing major metropolis areas in the United States. The rural nature and the majority of the counties around Davidson County don't normally have adequate resources to engage with the population that you all service. And can you talk about, tell us a little bit about how Davidson County addresses this with these? I know that there are a couple, so let's not say several, there are a couple shelters in the area that assist youth. Can you explain what makes Launch Pad specifically unique in this area?
I'll take that one. Hi, I'm Micah. My pronouns are they, them. Thanks for having us today. So Launch Pad, which is my favorite thing to talk about, is the only LGBTQ affirming shelter within 200 miles, right? So we're also the only 18 to 24-year-old specific shelter in Nashville. And we also provide the only LGBTQ plus transitional housing program within a 3-hour drive of ourselves. So not unique on just one level, but several.
Now, how does the continual transient population of Davidson County, because that's forever changing, and I know that you all service individuals who may not be, because let's be real, nobody is in Nashville is really still from Nashville. I mean, on this, like when we say that it's kind of rare to run into a Nashville native. And so that kind of transient population, and that changing landscape, how does that that environment engage with the services that you provide for Launch Pad and affect your landscape?
Yeah, I think this one's tough to me. We call those unicorns. If you're from Nashville and still live here, that's a unicorn. I have a couple of friends who are unicorns. My family moved to Middle Tennessee when I was about 7, so I can almost challenge most of the residents. But what we saw this last year is an 11% increase in the point in time count. The point in time count is kind of like a census of individuals who are unhoused or unstably housed. And so what we had to do this year was increase our cold weather emergency maximum in our winter shelter of 25. And we increased our daily maximum to that, because as our season continued, more and more young people learned that we were available to them, and they responded and joined us. But with the support of great corporate partners like the General and volunteers who bring dinners and cook meals and wash the sheets and towels that they sleep on, we can continue to do this work. We don't have a lot of data right now on exactly where each of these young people come from or exactly what their circumstances are. But as your support continues, we have the ability to develop case management systems. We're looking at implementing actually Salesforce, which might seem like a weird application of a corporate tool. But because of its ability to be tweaked, we can create what we need to know how to tell the story of those that we serve and continue offering not just shelter and support, but wraparound services and connections to community and added resources.
Now, as we talk about, before we continue the conversation, I want us to kind of center some of the language that we're utilizing in this space. And so one thing that Launchpad does that I just love is they utilize the words unhoused versus homeless. Can you explain to me and enlighten the crowd out there about the purpose behind utilizing those terms?
Yeah. So homeless implies a sense of loss, right? So it means that you are without something, just in the way that it's worded, the way that it's phrased. But really, like, what I see with these young people, what I've seen over the past decade is like, home is very much in your heart. It's in your community. You can carry it with you and it can move with you. So saying that someone is homeless is not accurate and it's undignified, I think. Unhoused is more accurate. It's actually what we're talking about. So I think the more accurate you can be, the more respectful you are. If that makes sense. HG, did you have anything you wanted to add? I
was trying not to involve myself in that because you're the expert.
Sorry.
We sometimes call Micah the young people whisperer. And they serve as our program director, but I think that the next set of business cards is going to say young people whisperer. because of the way that they care for these young people.
I co-sign that. I would love for them to say young people whisperer. Thank you.
I love that. And I love the usage of the unhoused versus homeless, right? At the general, we really try to make sure that as we engage with our customers, we engage within the community, that we are utilizing those terms, that we see our customer as very ambitious. Someone else may see our customer kind of as down, right? Like we don't see them as this is their last option. We are a launch pad for these individuals. It's same as you, they're catapulting you. You have to come kind of to a start, potentially to reset, right? Because at some point, being aspirational and being in this space, being homeless versus unhoused is really important. And I think terminology matters as people see themselves in spaces and finding that strength. As we look at the factors, one thing that you said, Micah, is, people are coming from different places, different walks of life, as they engage and as they come in and utilize your services. Can we talk about some of those kind of systematic or those personal factors that may bring them through the doors of Launchpad?
Happy to, yeah. The majority of the young folks that come to us have been kicked out by unsupportive family, right? So we serve 18 to 24-year-olds. And the majority of it is, I came out as genderqueer or a lesbian or what have you, and my family said that I couldn't live here anymore. Or I was forced out. They found me in wherever they found me, kissing whoever I was kissing, and now I can't stay here anymore. My family kicked me out. I needed somewhere to stay. And most of the time it's from a rural county, or they're from another state entirely, and they find us through there. The internet is our friend in that way. Luckily, we come up pretty quickly on Google. Another way that folks come to us is when they age out of the foster care system. So when you hit 18 and those services that support you suddenly end, unfortunately, not everyone has a plan in place when they hit that age. Quite a birthday gift to get the gift of experiencing homelessness as soon as you become an adult in the law's eyes, right? Another way is some folks are experiencing human trafficking. So they are in the hands of folks who want to monetize their labor or their bodies, and they cannot escape those situations. And when they try, sometimes they come to us, which we are grateful for. HG, am I missing any big ways that folks come to us?
I would say, another thing we do see sometimes is folks coming to us from another shelter, where maybe they've had a negative experience and they realize that they need a different place, a place where the bathrooms don't say men and women. One of our favorite church sites for our winter shelter has a man, a woman, a caveman, and an alien on it, and it says, "Whatever, just wash your hands," right? And that, we get to laugh about that, but it's a sense of belonging that we're able to give. And what we began saying this last year, Launchpad, is welcome to Launchpad. You don't have to be queer, but you can't be a jerk, right? It's kind of a misnomer that we're a gay shelter when we are a young adult shelter, and we are building a community of deeper tolerance, and I dare say sometimes love for one another despite our differences. One by one, 20 to 25 people a night. And it's a great gift to be able to do it.
Now, speaking of young adult, what we know, a lot of times people think young adult, kind of kid or minor. I know Launchpad does not specifically work with minors. And was there a specific reason that you all decided within this population to not engage in that age group?
Yeah, there's another organization here in Nashville that does excellent work with minors. Am I allowed to name drop them?
That's fine.
Right. The Oasis Center here in Nashville has a minor shelter. It's the only minor shelter in the state, actually. And they do fantastic work. And we saw that need was met. And so we said, what's not 18 to 24 years old? Let's do that.
And the Oasis Center is actually one of our other community partners. So
well done.
Look, see, we want to make sure that we're in the community and we're working with the groups that are doing the thing that matters to the community in the population that we find, not only at need, but also I always say this is some people's reset. And so that's how we see individuals that come into our business model and they come into seeking our services, is that sometimes you just need a reset and you need someone to be there when you need them the most, right? You need a break, and a break may just be, like you said, we have had the opportunity to see what type of bedding that they receive, and that you all, when we talk about the services, we're going to get into, Launchpad. When you assist the guests as they come through those doors, you give them an opportunity to make their own beds. And I think that is really powerful. I tell people I didn't get a room to myself till I was a second semester senior in high school. I'm one of 6 kids, but being able to have my own space and close a door. HG said we're going to get into your extended housing, but being able to close a door, like why that matters and why that's important and why that's memorable. Because, me being at my current age, it's very distinctive. My room, my mom let me paint it purple. It was just an experience for me. And so as your guests come through the doors, talk about those unique needs that they may need and how you provide this kind of holistic experience for them.
Oh, I'm happy to. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So Launchpad uses youth-led programming. That's our model, which just means we listen to what the young people ask us for. And it seems so simple, and it is in a lot of ways, but it's also not easy. Simple is not easy. So when the young people come through the doors, they may ask for the things you would assume. I need a shower. I need a place to sleep. I need a meal. I need a place to charge my phone so I can go on TikTok. Yes, these are all things that we do and provide for our young people. But they also may ask for things that are surprising to you. They may ask to be alone. They might not want to talk at all. They might need a space to use substances. Right? Not saying that Launchpad provides spaces where they can use substances, but we also don't judge them if they do need to do that outside of our space, right? We want to be a low barrier space so that they can come to us, so that they know they can trust us. That's all we want. We want to be the place that they know they can go, that we're always in their corner.
Now, as you provide these services, if an individual needs some secondary service beyond a space, they may need access to mental health resources or to health resources. Does Launchpad assist in navigating them to those services?
Yes, we have a close-knit resource network that we refer them to. I've been in Nashville almost 5 years now, and the social services, we lend well to each other. So, I mean, if we didn't band together as social workers, we'd burn out really quickly. We can't do it all as much as we want to. So yeah, when people come in and they're like, I want a therapist, we know where to send them. We know where to send them if they have insurance, where to send them if they don't, where to send them to get insurance, et cetera. But yeah, I would say referrals is a large part of the job. Something about Launchpad that I love is we are not trying to get too big for our britches, so to speak. We are focusing on the thing that we do, and we are doing it well. We are focusing on quality.
We call it fewer, bigger, better here, right? And it's interesting when you get into a focus and get into a pocket, and as you engage with the guests, how does Launchpad define success?
Ooh, I'm glad you asked these in tandem. That's also youth-led. So we let the young people define what success means for them. A lot of Launchpad's model is asking the young people questions and listening, really listening to what they say. So success looks different for everyone. We can't tell anybody what success looks like for them, but we can ask and listen. And if they say something that we have the means to help them with, we will absolutely do that. Sometimes they're looking for a job that leads to stable income and eventually an apartment. Great, we can help you with some of those things. Sometimes they're looking for a safe place to sleep and then to know that their bag won't get stolen, their bag that contains everything that they own, right? Great, we can help you with that. Both are successes, right? Creating the relationship with the young person is the success.
And so when we talk about that ultimate goal and engaging within this community, those are the factors. Is there kind of a ultimate goal, like this is like our farthest stretch goal, that if we do this well, every encounter, we know we've done our job?
I think there's a goal inside of Davidson County to end homelessness, right? Functional Zero is the name of the program. It's a stretch goal for the entire county, definitely. And it will take more than just Launchpad to accomplish the goal. But it's useful to have something to strive for. It's useful to have a target to aim at, right? HG, did you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think, one thing I might say, our most recent point in time count said that there were just around 90 to 100 young people identified in this census. And it's important to note that's people who want to be found, right? And that doesn't count our young people who made a friend in high school and they're couch surfing, right? But we, in our last winter season, we served 73 individual unique young people, which is so many. And it tells me that of those people that can be found, that are ready to connect with services, we have found them. We have found the majority, and we had a chance to show them unconditional affirmation and support. So that is a success if you ask the executive director.
Thank you, HG. Now, when we can talk about kind of some social factors that are in play, right? It's always like kind of those unwritten rules of the game when people are navigating their day-to-day. In Tennessee and other areas of the Bible Belt, LGBTQ individuals in the community continue to face disproportionate rates of discrimination, violence, family, and community rejection sometimes. Consistently, LGBTQIA youth are pushed into unstable housing situations after experiencing some family rejection, which Micah discussed when we first started this conversation, kind of align closely with some national statistics and local statistics that we've outlined. About 15 to 30% of the unhoused or unstably housed youth in Nashville identify within this group. Geographically, when we think about this as this kind of urban city, say Nashville's country enough to be country, but city enough to be city, being, from Memphis, but also having lived in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin, it's sometimes you have these urban pockets in these, in bigger cities. So when we think about these Nashville and their search for these resources, there's the intersection of the highways. So where they're coming from, I-65, I-24, I-40. There's just tons of just major railroads in this area. So Nashville is easily accessible to youth across these state lines. As we think about just geographically in this population that you service, and like Micah said, the goal is to really work in this space in tandem in a network with organizations here in the Davidson County area. What motivates Launchpad's decision? And I say that specifically to kind of set people up because we're in the South. It's warm here. We know there are transient, unhoused individuals across the country. So what motivates Launchpad's decision to provide winter housing and emergency needs instead of year-round nightly shelter?
Thank you for asking this. It's a great question. And in actuality, we didn't make that decision. I mentioned that we had done some pivoting and some adjusting as a result of the context we lived in when COVID came in 2020. We shifted from the hotels into an apartment model that had 24/7 staffing. And we had to really give this some thought. And what we did was we shifted our staffing into the winter shelter and kept the apartment. So we have both. We have a 24/7, 365 apartment where Micah has built an amazing, harmonious community of young people who are learning what it's like to live together. Excuse me. Who remembers their first roommate? Who remembers that ridiculous, annoying, I can see your faces. I had one too. This guy slept through his alarm every morning. 59 minutes is the cutoff. that an alarm clock will give up if you don't adjust it, okay? So we have these young people in an apartment who get a chance to live in a space with a little bit of guardrails. You know, a weekly covenant meeting where they can air their grievances with themselves and with Micah, or with the amazing interns that we had this year. But what we did, we realized that we were serving probably about 20 people a year, and we were spending more than when we had a winter shelter operating. And as you know, we then served 73 this last year in just the winter shelter. And we knew that these adults were adults, and that if we gave them the tools and gave them the stability and gave them a chance to have an apartment together, that they could do it. So that was our shift. We knew we could do both, and we are almost a year in, and it is fantastic. The other piece of that puzzle that I'll quickly mention is it also gave us a chance to use the relationships we built in our winter shelter to know who would be a great participant in the independent supported living program, the ISLP. So that success rate is even higher as a result. And so our dream, I know it's a DreamBank, our dream is that one day we will have a bigger 24/7 operation to serve even more of these amazing, brilliant young people.
Now, when individuals, when these guests come to you, and what happens if you're at capacity at night? How do you navigate them in Davidson County? Because there are other shelters that we've discussed that engage with youth, but also just a larger, you know, there's a monster shelter is what I like to call Nashville Rescue Mission. But I mean, they house 300 women and 300 men, 600 individuals each night. It's a lot of people. And so for that,
and I think
where would
that
you
number is
be
now
these
800.
individuals? Oh,
Yeah. So that is the great sadness when we have more people show up at our door than we have mattresses. We do everything in our power not to get there. We have a registration system that creates a wait list, and we do our best to assign those beds as well as possible. There will occasionally be a phone call to somebody that says, hey, is there a chance that you have a buddy you can stay with tonight? So that we have to send fewer people in a Lyft or an Uber to the mission for a night. Because it's exactly what we do because of their safety net status, Andreall. And I remember the first time I watched Micah have that conversation with one of our beloved young people, that we had more people than we had mattresses, more people than we had food for the night. And I did not put the Kleenexes close enough to my desk today. But that is the challenge of our work. And that is why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm. We are lucky that the capacity issue we only encountered it 4 times last winter season. So November 1 to the end of March is when our winter shelter, the overnight shelter, runs. We only hit capacity in a way where we had to find alternate placements 4 times. And after that, HG and I had a conversation where we needed to raise our cap from 20 up to 25. And once we raised to 25, we did not hit that capacity issue again. Luckily.
Now, when you talk about the capacity and we talk about the needs of the guests that are coming in, I also like to center this around Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that the most fundamental level everyone needs in life is food, water, rest, clothing and shelter, health, and potentially the ability to reproduce if that's something that they're interested in, right? As these basic needs are continually met, do you find that individuals have a greater capacity to focus on their dreams as they navigate?
We do. I'm so grateful you asked this question, Andreall, and I might go a different direction than you expected. But what we also see is when your basic needs are met, it might also bring nightmares. And I kind of grieve that this happened, but we saw a really tremendous juxtaposition this spring where the guests in our ISLP had found such security, such rest, such time to dig into their future, that they were appropriately scared to go to the grocery store for fear of being arrested because they were in drag due to the state of their transition, where perhaps they are comfortable and most affirmed wearing a dress that still might have a little facial hair as the state of their transition, because of the actions of our General Assembly and our governor, where we received the first of its kind law preventing public drag. Now, the other hand, I never heard a single member of our winter shelter talk about it. I don't think they had the privilege of knowing the hatred coming out of the elected officials that are meant to represent us. So I could go on and on about Maslow and the new way of looking at it, but we know that it is nonlinear. Much like the cycles of dealing with grief, your needs are nonlinear, and so we kind of jump up Maslow's pyramid and we place respect as a deeply important tenet of what we do. But it's not all negative. There were dreams that came true as well. But that's the big one that comes to mind.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said state of their transition. And when we think about that, that is the ability to transform, the ability to exist, like the privilege, the right to exist in everyday spaces, that in a space that you define what that looks like, what that visually looks like, what that feels like, to be seen. And how does Launchpad in that safe space, what other spaces do you work with within the city, within like community organizations, or we had an opportunity to attend your first fundraiser. How do you create more space for it, and not even being physical, but create more space for people to be seen?
I do want to jump in, and then I'm going to pitch it to Micah, but I joined the board of Launchpad in the summer of 2019, and maybe 18 actually. And every year we saw someone come out in shelter after they knew that they were allowed, after they knew that being LGBTQIA+ was safe, after they knew they could have a they them pronoun or change their name. The step was taken and the space was made. And as it turns out, it's a lot of work not being yourself.
Yes.
Right?
It's a heavy weight not being able to be
It's
authentic.
hard, y'all. But Micah did a robust job of bringing in partners, everything from our local library with a mobile library to writing workshops. And so that's another way that space is made. And so I'll pitch it to them.
I have this interaction that's stuck in my head of when we do our intake and we meet someone for the first time in shelter, we ask them what name they want to be called. And I think that is not a question that people get asked often, if at all. So the first time that's thrown at you, it can be jarring. It's a little off-putting because you're used to one name for so long. So this young person, I was like, what name do you want to be called? And they kind of shot back a cheeky little, what, I can just choose whatever name I'm called? And I said, yeah. And they were like, and they actually did end up changing their name halfway through the season, which was interesting and interesting to watch. I felt privileged to watch that. But yeah, another thing that I see that is a form of space creation and people moving around inside that newly found space is a lot of unmasking of neurodivergence, right? So we've got a lot of young folks who are who have ADHD, or who are on the autism spectrum, and they no longer need to mask anything that they've been masking in society at large. They can just be themselves. Some folks have tics. They can tick with us and not worry about it, not apologize, not feel weird. They can stim, they can do whatever it is they need to feel comfortable and safe, right? And I felt honored to know that they could be safe in that space and not have to mask and not have to use the energy it takes to look however you think you need to look out in the world.
Now, I, of course, got a question for y'all because, you know, this is an interview. I wanted to the first time I met Mike, I want to say this, and I know Monica's like, don't go off script. I'm going off script. I'm going wild. So first time I met Micah, we had the opportunity to participate at the fundraiser, and at the end, the thing that struck me that was really important and something I didn't see myself in is sometimes when you're transient, you don't get to hold on to things because, you know, things aren't, you don't keep things like you described. Sometimes people have a bag. So growing up, we were very transient, and we did have a couple of bouts of being unhoused. And I always think about the things that like the physical things that I just don't have, or pictures during a certain age that no one has those photos of me in the digital world we live in, right? But the thing that always was something that was mine was music, because I didn't have to carry it. I didn't have to put it in a bag. It was always accessible to me. I could get access to it because it was out there in like the world. And so I think about that experience of having this thing that was always, I wouldn't say readily available, but accessible to me. And as I see the smiles on your faces, right? Like, but that's the thing that connects me back to places. It connects me back to experiences. And so, you know, the question I always hate is that where are you from, right? Because I can't really define that, but I can tell you a song to tell you a place and how I existed during that time. And so I just want to know when you do those interviews and you are getting to know them, and when you said, you gave them room to be themselves, and that's, who are you, right? Like that's really strong, because a lot of times you come with a structure to put on top of people versus how do you navigate within this space? How would you like to? And so why is that important to approach it in that way versus being like, this is what we do and this is how you have to fall in line, versus, you know, what experience, what adventure are you choosing today?
Oh, first of all, thank you for sharing that about yourself. You are amazing. I think that you're phenomenal. I'm very happy to have met you, by the way. My initial answer to this is this is one of the many ways that we prove in action that Launchpad is different than the places they've been, right? We immediately do not put them inside of a box or require that they do X, Y, and Z. We won't do that. They can choose to do things if they want to, like shower or make their bed with, you know, hospital corners. They can if they want to. Some people do, but you don't have to. You are not forced to do that thing. We want everyone to know that they are fully autonomous over their own body and their own experience in a society, in a world that often tells you that you are owned by something or someone else all the time, right? So that's one way that we do that. And I'm getting so excited about this question that I need to pitch it to HG before I get too excited. Gosh.
I don't feel qualified. I just don't. So one of the most heartwarming things this last year was one of our volunteers would go to Kroger once a week or once a month and get a specific flavor of hot sauce for one of the young people. And I remember I ran into him at a different shelter site one night, And I said, oh, we have some hot sauce, because I knew he liked hot sauce. And he said, oh, I have better hot sauce at such and such church. Just, first I was insulted because I consider myself a connoisseur of hot sauce. But second, and more importantly, it was just so touching to know that that piece of home, that piece of comfort that does not need definition, existed for that guy. And he was not our happiest young person by any stretch, but that was happiness.
Mm.
The hot sauce was his music.
Mm.
And we sometimes forget those little things that make such a big difference. Several years ago, I was gifted with the scent of old school Ivory soap. And it took me back to my grandparents' farm, 30 years or more. Home is a concept that Launchpad brings. And it can be almost anywhere.
Yeah, and what a gift for them to show us who they are. What a gift for us to see it. I mean, oh gosh, I can't tell you how many intimate memories I have now of getting to know the young people night by night, and to see the volunteers get to know them. But also in this age range, 18 to 24, your frontal lobe is still developing, right? You're still getting your decision-making powers and maturity solidified, right? So like when you are also experiencing crisis and you are terrified every night because you don't know where your next meal is coming from, and you don't know where you're sleeping, and you don't know if you're going to be safe or you're going to get jumped or whatever, you don't have time to think about J. Cole's newest song and learn the lyric. Like, you don't have time to think about that hot sauce. You don't have time to think about anything except surviving. And you barely sleep. Your sleep suffers, your daily focus suffers, therefore your job performance suffers if you have a job at all. And not having income impacts your daily life. As we know, it's a cycle. It all Absolutely. Is interdependent, right? So Launchpad provided at least 12 hours of them being able to relax and show us the pieces they might not have been able to express anywhere else. And that is a gift.
And if you take our shelter data from this last year, and walk with me here. If somebody spent 5 nights with us in a row, that's 5 nights, right? And if 2 nights in a row we had 25 people, that's 50. If you take those numbers and if you pull them out, we provided over 2,300 nights of home this last year. 2,300 nights of safer sleep to these brilliant young people who allowed us into their home, allowed us to gift them that.
And I can say, being a person who's slept a many a nights on a pallet, being able to be somewhere safe and being around people that are safe, that you sleep a little better and with a lot more gratitude in those spaces. Now, it's been just an absolute pleasure, and like Micah said, I could talk to y'all all day. So what I want to do is for the guests out there on this call, how can they be actionable, and how can they help and engage with unhoused youth and young adults in their local communities?
Oh, I've got this one. Get involved, volunteer, find out who in your community is out there doing the work. Google is really good for this. Direct action, like distributing water or food to the areas that are dense with people experiencing homelessness, is immediately helpful. There are organizations nationwide that provide canvassing services. That's what it's called. It's called canvassing. And if possible, make yourself a regular presence so that people start to recognize you, right? So even if you can only do it for an hour on Mondays or every other Monday, that is good. That is good enough. Anything you can offer, right? Routine, consistency, it's key. It's key in building trust with folks. And your service, your volunteerism also helps overburden nonprofits meet the needs of the community.
Thank you. And, finally, before we close, I wanted us to take a look at the future. What is next for Nashville Launch Pad?
We have big dreams. I kind of alluded to that, but I'm going to encourage each of you to go to our website. You can see it on the screen here in my background, NashvilleLaunchPad.com, and sign up for our email address, or give us our email list rather, or give us a follow on Instagram. We expect we can make an announcement in the coming weeks or maybe months regarding the implementation of a fully funded year-round transitional shelter operated by Launchpad that will give 15 or 20 beds specifically for young adults. And this will bring a tremendous relief to those who don't have that place right now outside of our winter shelter. So we'll keep you posted.
Well, thank you for that. Micah, do you have anything to add before we give it back over to Monica?
Can we be friends in real life?
Look, we ain't number. They forget we in the same city, okay?
Then that's all I've got.
All right.
I second that motion.
Look, buddies. Buddies.
Oh
Thank
my
you for
God,
having us, Monica.
Most definitely. Thank you for being here. This was deep. This was deep, y'all. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of the levels, all of the everything that was unpacked here. I know that this 50 minutes isn't necessarily enough time to really unpack it, but I appreciate what you were able to share. And Andreall, for moderating this conversation as you did. Bravo. Thank you so much. I knew that you would be great in this, and yeah, you just showed up and showed out. We appreciate you. One thing that really stuck out to me, that was a takeaway for me, is how words matter. Words matter. And when we talk about being homeless versus being unhoused, I'm a board member of a organization that provides shelter and housing programs and things like that in the community. And it's words matter. Words just matter, not only when we're talking about homelessness versus unhoused, but when we're talking about people's pronouns and how they show up in that, and how people treat them within that, and how that sometimes comes out as a disconnect to some people because they just don't understand. And me personally, being part of the LGBTQ community, and still not really understanding, I wouldn't say not understanding, but not always asking what are your pronouns, and making assumptions sometimes. So I get that sometimes it's hard surface level, but all it takes is a little bit of effort from all of us. All it takes is a really tiny bit of effort from all of us to, offer everyone who we encounter a safe space within our presence. So I think that's really important. I have a question and I would like all of you to answer this question. You included, Andreall. The first part, and this is a two-part question, and answer this question either from a personal lens or from a professional lens. What dream are you after on the heels of, or pursuing, or thinking about right now? And what advice would you give to someone who's looking to pursue a dream right now or afraid to take that next step? Start with you, Micah.
Happy to. Ooh, love that. Okay. My dream that I'm pursuing right now is for Launchpad, and it is to have on-site mental health services offered as optional, obviously. So that way, when a young person comes in at night or even during the day, if and when we get this 24/7 program and they want to see a therapist, they can. They don't have that additional barrier of, I gotta make all those phone calls, gotta get on the list, gotta do the thing with insurance. They just can. Taking away barriers to therapy. And my advice to dreamers is it's supposed to scare you a little bit. If it scares you, that means you're on the right track. Keep going in that direction.
I love that. I love that. HG, do you want to answer next?
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't expecting that that question, so thank you. I think for me, it is Launchpad 24/7, 365. And I started this job July 1st. We are 16 days away from a year, and I guess it'll be time for a new dream pretty soon, because I'm talking it into existence right now. And I think the advice I would give is the work is done by showing up. And you walk the road one step at a time. And there are days that you think you only backslide. But the days that you fail are the days that you learn. And what I've really come to realize is it's all about those baby steps. And you can spend days, weeks, months, years planting seeds, and coming back and watering them and making sure that they grow. And that's how dreams are made, bit by bit.
That's how dreams are
This
made.
man is my boss. Do you see how lucky I am?
I love it. I love that.
We're both pretty lucky.
I love that. Andreall, how would you answer that question for us?
What advice would I give? I would say to have the audacity to be bold. And so I would say, because I just show up. I don't, I tell people I'm not code switching. Like if I say something and you understand it, just write it down. Connect with me later. I'll help you if it's a colloquial. But like they said, it's exhausting not being authentic. So just have the audacity to like show up and thrive and be bold and engage in spaces, because you are in the exact rooms that you need to be, in the places you need to be, because you deserve to be there. And so that's my like piece of advice. And like dream kind of that I'm pursuing is intermingled in that. And I'll say for more towards work, being the president of our multi-generational business resource group, I like to be an advocate. I continue to utilize like my influence and my proximity times impact, getting people close to things that matter, navigating the relationships that I have. And everybody out there, whether you're in the community or whether you're within our organization, making sure that we get proximate, because I would like to really magnify it and the impact that we're trying to do, especially with 5 generations of employees. For me, it's for people to be seen beyond the desk and what they do, because individuals are kaleidoscopic and we bring so much into spaces. It's not just linear and like what you do at your desk. Like you have a whole life, a whole set of experience, a breadth of experiences that you have. And so for me, it's that continue to dream big, to do the thing. And I want to thank Launchpad and the DreamBank for this space, because really in what we do here, it's the general gives you a break when you need one most, right? And in this space, the break may be, as Micah said, it may be rest, it may be food, it may be proximity to community, it may be the proper language and terms. So for me, it's just I continue to focus on spending this year as the multi-generational business resource group president is really just shining a light on people who may not be as bold as I am to say the things that need to be said and stand in the sand and just be there, because your voice, the utilization of your voice, if you can't give your time or your money to any space, it magnifies. And so hopefully that's what I dream about is really getting people into experiences like these, having our organizations and these partners to be seen, because, you have the right to show up and be who you are when you want to be in any given space and time.
Awesome.
We're going to direct all future media inquiries for Launchpad to Andreall. I no longer have a job. I'm no longer needed.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. And again, I appreciate you all just for this very candid discussion here today. Huge thanks and shout out to our Dreams Foundation team, Alicia and Noah, just for them having the vision and the audacity to say, this is what we're going to do, and for bringing us all together in this way. This was definitely a treat. I appreciate you all. In closing, I'd like to thank you all out there for tuning in. Your tuning in further amplifies what it is that Launchpad is doing and what it is that the Dreams Foundation does and what it is that DreamBank does and what it is that the General does. So we really appreciate you all tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social media, including LinkedIn, to be sure you're in the know about DreamBank's upcoming offerings, including our signature program experiences. We look forward to continuing to learn, grow, and dream alongside you. Thanks again for tuning in. Keep dreaming fearlessly.